This oral history of Lillian Gholson, Lillian, Gholson, Gholson. This is oral history she gave us for the downtown square back in the 20s and 30s. My name is Wayne Ware. The date is 5-4-12.
Yes, this was the downtown square. About what time period?
This would probably be the south side, wouldn't it?
About what time? Was it 1930s or 40s or?
Oh no, it would be back in the. It would be back in the 20s.
Okay. All right.
And Steve Goodlett had a theater there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was probably, I don't know whether I was still in grammar school, I know that. And he had Tom Mix and his horse and the Buster Brown. I believe they made shoes, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
And several other people that we were very fortunate to see. And then there was a 5 and 10 cent store right along there by Buchholz, Bucholtz. And it was a 5 and 10 cent store. And later on, as I guess I was in high school, I would be in high school, I worked there on Saturdays. And I worked there from 9 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock in the night for $1. And when I would tell my people that worked for me, the children, they couldn't believe that. And that was enough to buy a record, a paper record of the hit that week, and I'd take it home after work. Anyway, Wilcox Jewelry was there, and I have pieces of jewelry that were given to me when I graduated from high school that I wore to my reunion, the 50th reunion, that are a real pretty necklace and 2 bracelets. And Kenny Wilcox went to school with me from the first grade up, and his sister was a teacher in high school, so that's the story of the Wilcox jewelry. And then there was earlier than before I was ever in school, a relative of mine, Kratzberg, Kretzberg, had a soda store, or a soda fountain, with a little metal tables and chairs. And every Saturday, and I wasn't in school, but my mother, so you know about how old I was, about 6 years old, we would go to Cousin Ed's and get a banana split, which was delicious. And then later along there, there was the Eden's grocery store. And I don't know just when it appeared, but Olin Eden's was in my class in school. And then next to that was the newspaper store, and that was owned by Carl Burkhardt. And his daughter was in my class in school, Christina. And let's see, I don't know what the corner building was. Right now I don't remember, but I know upstairs there was a doctor that had a office upstairs. Then you went down that side of that building, and that's where the Chamber of Commerce was. Also, there was the city manager's office. R.E. Ward was the city manager at the time I worked there, but and the standpipe. And on down that street, there was a house or two, and then the Sherman Hotel was across the street from the Baptist Church, the old Baptist Church. Oh, okay, and you crossed the street, you had the Baptist Church, and then you had a car rental. Rogers had a car rental. And in high school, we would rent a limousine, you know, how children do. We'd rent a big car for a special occasion. But Rogers had that. And then I think it was a house or two, because the lady that gave me my permanence started out in her home right along there. And she gave me my permanence, and I know when I was a secretary of the Chamber of Commerce, another girl in that for advertisement. All we paid for was a fluid. And then on up that side was Mr. Stone had a photography place.
Was this on 7th Street?
Is that the street that's where the church is on?
No, it'd be Main Street.
Oh, well, Main Street is, well, I don't know. There's across from the Sandpipe. What street is that the Sandpipe's on?
Yeah, that's Main Street.
Okay, so that's Main Street. Also, there was express place there. Let's see, what would you call it? Where they sent packages and things, I guess. Henson had that. And Mary Lois Henson was a daughter. And I met her. She went to high school later on. And she was older than me. And she did work with me when I needed help at the Chamber of Commerce. And eventually became secretary when I left. Okay. That was the Henson's place. Then there was an eating place where you could get sandwiches and lunches and drinks. Skis managed that. That was directly across from the chamber. Then on the corner was McInnes Drugstore. And down the side of it, there was a doctor's office. And right now I don't remember his name. And then on down the side of that was a bakery. A German man had that bakery. And that was right across what was then the new post office. I understand you have a newer post office now. So what did they do with that post office? Do you know?
I don't know.
But anyway, that later on, that post office was built. And you come back up on Main Street on the corner. I think the corner store was a Hoffman's clothing store. Then Bob Swenson had a drugstore. And when I was little, and we had the banana split, and I was that age, we would go in there, and Mother would, she liked perfumes, and they had perfume in drams. And I remember we'd go back to the perfume counter, and he would show her these tiny little bottles with a little glass stopper in it, and you could smell it. And sometimes she would buy a little bitty bit of perfume. You know, we were all poor folks. And then the Sun-Times was on that street. And let's see, I can't remember right this minute, and I haven't been able to remember any other stores there. And you leave that block and cross the street, and on the next corner was a furniture store. And that's where we bought our furniture. My husband, when we got married, believed that everything should be bought in your hometown because they supported him. So we bought our bedroom suit and our things from him. Then that was later on. So I don't remember who had that store when I was little. But you went on down that street to the jail. That's the street you went to the jail on.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't remember anything on that side, but I remember block that was, I'd say north, when I was little, was a Greek restaurant. And I remember we would get a sandwich that would be several layers. You called them club sandwiches, I believe.
Yeah.
And then also along there was Henderson's Variety Store. And right this minute I don't remember any other stores. But you crossed over to the next block and you had the bank, the First National Bank. And Mr. Eames was president of that bank. And later on, Billy Bob Eames, who was a classmate, became president of that bank. Then right below the bank, going towards the river, was Shaw's Grocery. Jim Shaw's Grocery, and Jim and Effie Shaw. Effie Shaw was my mother's sister, so those were relatives.
Was that next to the courthouse?
Next to the bank.
Okay, that was down one block from the courthouse?
Yeah, going towards the river, going towards the bridges. And then there was a Shaw filling station along there. And then across the street was the funeral home. There were, let's see, Frederick, was it Frederick Funeral? No, it wasn't Frederick. It was, there were twins. Billy and Auntie Davis. Okay, I remember their names. Isn't that odd? Billy and Auntie Davis. The Davises owned that funeral home across the street from the filling station. Now then, we go up the street towards the south. We go across the street from the bank. You know that there was a shoe store. I don't know who owned the shoe store, but that's where they bought my shoes. And along there was Hodges Drugstore and Lumblaud's Hardware Store. Lumblaud's Hardware Store was there for years, and that's where we bought our, that's where my china and my crystal came from. And on the corner of that building was a dry goods store. And down the street going west from the dry goods store was the feed store. And I did think of the name of the people that had the feed store the other day. I can't remember it now. And then you come back up on the other side. I don't remember what was on the side, but you had another big building that I think was a bank, another bank. And it had apartments upstairs over all that area. There was 3 apartments upstairs. And also there was a barber shop next to it, and the stairs went right up by the barber shop upstairs. And upstairs in those apartments, my aunt and Uncle Halsey Davis lived before I went to school in the 1st grade. And the 5 and 10 cent store later became White's Ready to Wear, which was next to the theater, and they had an apartment up there. And then the 3rd apartment was a pickle, and I can't remember her first name. So there was 3 families had apartments up there, and that would mean they would be over, I guess about over the theater. Is that theater still there?
No.
There was a theater right along there, and the Chastains run that theater. That was I know they were running it during my teenage time, but now, before I was a teenager, I don't know what was in there. But then on down the street a little piece was a dry goods store that was run by Barty McGill, and he was an uncle of mine, Magill. And also along there was the telephone office. You had a telephone office along there. On down the street was a vacant lot, and that's where they had tent shows when I was little. And I know they had Orphan Annie, and I was an orphan in that tent show. That was my first experience acting. And then across the street from that was I know Brown Motor Company was somewhere along there. I think it reached both sides of, I think it reached the other Main Street and that street too. There was a Episcopalian church too across the street. See, I'm getting scattered now. You know, things come to you, you don't think about it at the time.
Yeah.
You wait till you get 96. But anyway, I made the rounds every month collecting Chamber of Commerce dues. The Lions Club sent their dues in they came by or paid for them.
Yeah.
But I went around to all the stores, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. So that was one reason. That was when I was older.
Yeah.
Now, when I was real little, and I got some shoes at the shoe store that I told you about,
Yeah.
I wanted some pumps. I wanted some blonde pumps. Mom and Daddy said, you should get some sensible shoes. Well, I got the pumps. I usually got what I wanted. And, that's when we lived at the jail. And one of the prisoners, a women prisoner, told Mama, I saw her coming down the hill. She was carrying those new shoes, and she was barefooted. So that was on a Saturday. So Mama said, now, I was real active in the Baptist church from the time I was tiny. And Miss Annie Pearl had us. So she said, I think you'd wear your new shoes to Sunday school this morning. And I wouldn't put them on. I couldn't wear them. So I bought sensible shoes after that. But I couldn't wear those pumps. Anyway, the Baptist church, let's see. I was trying to think where the old Baptist church was. We had a little building, and Miss Annie Pearl had us in there, and we sat around in little bitty chairs, and she had our Sunday school lesson, and we were given little bitty cards with a little scripture on it. Then if you had a birthday or something, she had a little metal angle thing, and you got to tap that, how old you were. And there was a tabernacle out there. I call it a tabernacle. That's where you have just a roof and posts.
Yeah.
And that's where I was baptized. It's at Baptist Church.
What street was that?
Oh, I'm trying to think. I can't see the church. I can see the tabernacle. I can see inside the church, but I can't tell you right this minute where it was. The Presbyterian church was I don't know which corner it was on, where it was. And there was a printing company down, I guess, where the new post office is. Oh, and there was a Western Union on that rock where the Hoffmans and the Swensons, down the side. There was a printing company, and Atlee Printing Company, and I can't remember the old couple. There was an old couple had the Western Union, and so when I was in high school, I decided I'd like to. And somebody said that old couple was going to retire and that'd be open, so I decided that might be what I'd like to do. So I volunteered over there, and they thought I was so good. Now you see, that's your tapping. That wasn't any speaking. That's, the code, Morse code.
Oh.
And they thought I was so good that they were going to take a vacation. But you know, that just scared me to death. Here I am still in high school, and they're going to leave that thing with me. So I quit. I didn't go back anymore when they said that.
So you were doing Morse code then?
Oh, wait. Now, Galloway's had an insurance office, too, over there back of the McKinney's drugstore. I'm just now thinking about them, Galloway, because they had an insurance office. And I worked in there after school or something to get, so I could work on mimeograph machines. See, all we had was mimeograph, and I don't remember now what else I could run a mimeograph machine, but I wanted to learn how to do that. I've always wanted to learn how to do things. So, different things will come to me. We had, back at McKinney's was a doctor's office. And I guess Dr. Thomas's office must have been over by Bob Swenson's drugstore, somewhere over there. And he was our family doctor. And then Dr. Schultz had an office, and she gave me my big tool that you wind it up. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then I had that when I was in high school, and that's when I got the paper records. We played and danced by those. Let's see.
So they had records on paper?
Kind of like cardboard. And the new record was at McInnes's drugstore, and when I'd get off from work from Buchholz, that $1 that I got, I'd go get a record for 35 cents. And Singing in the Rain, and I can't think of some of those. I remember that, but they were pretty good dance records. Or you could Charleston buy them. We had fun then as teenagers. So now then, the Mayfete was there every year. Do you have anything on the Mayfete?
What is that?
Well, that was at the university. Miss Kirkendall had a Mayfete, and it was a big affair. And in this little history book that you say you have a copy of, there is a picture in there of the Mayfete, and it was out at the university. And I was and Mama made my costume and my cousin's costumes, and they were either, one year you were a pansy and you had crepe paper stuff. Maybe one year you were a fairy or an angel, and you had two with wings, and they had maypoles. And we always participated in the Mayfete. That was an event to look forward to in Georgetown. And let's see, what else did we look forward to? Oh, and I'm sending you a picture of Uncle Manuel. And he was a colored man, but he was part of the city and part of our family. He and my grandfather were cowboys and drove cattle to Denver. So I guess that's where they made friends. And then when they quit that, and Big Papa became sheriff, but he was just, he just went around town. Everybody knew Uncle Manuel. I don't know that he ever had a job, but he did odd things. And he had all of his meals on weekends at our house. He liked Miss Evie's cooking. And he lived to be real old, and there was a picture of him on his horse in an article, and I thought he should be mentioned.
Yeah.
He was part of the history of Georgetown. And, let's see, I can't think of like this minute, but we had a wonderful community, and it was fun to know all these people.
What do you remember about the courthouse?
Oh my goodness, well, whenever I left school, in the afternoons, I went through the courthouse to go to the jail to see who was on trial. I knew the prisoners, and then oftentimes I'd ride home with Daddy and the prisoner, you know, from school. I knew the courthouse from top to bottom. And there's not a picture of the courthouse. They didn't, when they redid the courthouse, you know, this recent stuff, they didn't make a sheriff's office. And I don't understand why they didn't. I have a picture of the sheriff's office, but I didn't send it to you. Do you want it?
Yeah, that would be good.
And it shows the sheriff's pictures all around the room. And that's, and Daddy, I believe, was in that, and Mr. Russell and some of them. I'll try to put a note on everything. I haven't got around to that. I got the scout uniform yesterday for this lady. And I'm going to send that to her. And a book that she doesn't have. And I hope she sends it back. She said they had a real good copy place there. And they did an excellent copy. And there was some material in it she wanted to copy. Anyway, she was very nice. But back to the courthouse. I've been in every room, and I mean from the basement on up, you name it. And I don't know whether you're recording this for other people to hear or not.
Yes,
Well, I don't want to go into all of it then. I'd be afraid to tell you. But I knew all the prisoners. We had good prisoners, nice fellows, and we had women. And but that was my hobby, was to go through the courthouse. So I knew everybody, and everybody knew me. I always was interested in the trials, what they were going to do. Knew all the lawyers and the judges and whatnot.
The courtroom with the big, tall ceiling.
Oh, yeah. We had some good big trials. We had Leahy, who they electrocuted eventually, which was sad. He was a nice fellow, but he killed a man down in South Texas. So they electrocuted him. And then there was another prisoner, Manuel, and they built the life scaffold in Texas. And every day they'd tell him that was where they were going to hang him. But he didn't respond. So then Dr. Thomas was there to examine him to see if maybe he wasn't crazy. And of course, I was there I participated in everything. I was before school. So he had him cross his legs, and then you take your hand, and hit below your knee.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether his knee jumped or didn't jump. But then they said, well, he was insane. So I always thought that whatever happened to his knee made him insane, see. That's how little I was. So he was not hung. He was put in an insane asylum. So what he did, he was on the way from San Antonio to Laredo, and he jumped up and with his razor and cut several throats.
Okay.
But that's the reason they were going to hang him. But he was in jail quite some time, and we had women, and the men. But I'll tell you, people didn't clamor to get in jail because they didn't have the things to eat. They didn't have the facilities that they provide for them now. And it would be maybe 6 or 8 people in jail. So you see, they weren't clamoring to get in jail. And then whoever was there, they were chained to their legs, and the county or somebody took them out. They were a chain gang, and they worked the ditches and culverts. And then in the basement of the jail, they kept the stills that they raided, and people I have no idea what they made whiskey in. You wouldn't ever want to take a drink of it. Big drums, oil drums, and all kinds of things. So it was a wonderful place to live. My grandfather was the first one that moved into the jail when it was built. And I do have a great big, nice article with a picture and the construction and who planned it and so forth. I'm sending you. Do you not have that?
Yeah.
Do you have that, all that information?
No,
No.
That'd be good to add to the jail page.
Yeah. Well, you see, I'm reminiscing, and that's part of my life is reminiscing, but I don't do it, just 1, 2, 3. But, what else do you want to know?
Well, we're kind of tiring you out. Maybe we should do this, do some more another day.
Reached what?